this is it. This is my very first podcast. My name's Amber Greene. Yes, it's a colourful name, and I hope this is going to be a colourful podcast for you. And that you're going to find some really great drops of gold in this, experience that we share together in this big adventure. So let's get going. I am scared. I am terrified, but I'm doing it anyway, because if I don't, I'm going to have regrets. And one of the commitments that I've made with this one extraordinary life is to have no regrets. So this is messy. This is one take. This is here we go. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to, I'm sure I'm going to get better as the time goes on, but we're having a go and we're putting ourselves out in the ring and out in public and being visible and everything, because I really feel like there's some things that I can do to help, particularly around the work area. I never want anybody to do, a job that they don't enjoy, but I also don't want you to waste your one extraordinary life. And some of the things that I have learned through my life, I hope are going to be useful for you so that you don't waste time and you don't get stuck making the wrong decisions and choices. I know we all have our own lives and we all have to lead those lives and make those choices. But sometimes I think, the best support I've had has been from just hearing somebody say something or do something, or a book I've read. There's been a line in a book, hopefully something I say throughout this time, and either in myself or when I'm interviewing people, is going to be those drops of gold or those drops of wisdom for you too. So let's get going. I love this kind of work. I absolutely love it. So I work as a career transition specialist. And so when I begin my classes, I work a couple of days a week teaching that. I do a lot of different things, as you're going to find out. But when I do that, one of the first things I need to do is to kind of get to know people. So have a bit of an icebreaker. This is not me talking to you down, just me talking at you. What I really want this to be is a dialogue. I actually want you and I to interact as much as we can. So, my socials are for that as well, that I can be, actually messaging you and talking to you. I don't want to do this. My courses and everything that I run is very much in person. I don't do recorded courses because I want to interact with people. That's where I feel like I can have the most impact, and also where I can see the change. I actually want to change people's lives for good, and for better. So I need to have that interaction with people to do that. So I hope that the podcast is going to allow us to do that as well. So the first thing I want you to do is to it's an experiential podcast. And so what I want you to do is I'm going to sometimes share activities and things that I do in my groups with you so that you can try these things too. So I want you to keep a piece of paper handy. What you can do, if you're like me, I love sticky notes and a pencil. Wherever I go, I have a sticky note and pencils. I think I keep 3M, this company, in business. This is not a plug. I just really do. These are expensive. $10 for a little block of Post-it notes. But I love these things. These two things would be my favorite thing in the world. If anyone wants to give me a gift, send me Post-it notes or give me Post-it notes. I love them. Post-it notes and pencils and an eraser. They're probably my favorite things. So what I want you to do is to grab a piece of paper. And the very first thing I'm going to do with you is to ask you to write a self-portrait of yourself in 7 words. So it's not words. I don't want you to use words like, that are traits, kind of character traits, things like, that you're friendly, or that you're, a good team worker, or those silly things that you put on the resume that, really shouldn't be there. We don't want to have things like, that you're kind or generous or whatever. Those things come later, absolutely. But this self-portrait, what it is I want you to think about the roles that you play. Now, it's not the official roles. It's not that you're a doctor or you're a scientist or you're a librarian or that you're a teacher or, you're a fitness trainer or whatever. Yes, that could be something. That could be one of them. But what I really want you to think about is, what are the types of roles you play in the world? So if I give you an example, I would say one of the things that I do, one of my self-portraits, would definitely be that I am a philosopher. I spend so much of my time, and have done since I was a young child, searching for meaning. I'm always searching for meaning. It is why I'm sitting here in front of this podcast with you now, because a lot of what I'm going to share are those things that I have found on this journey. I would say that is my number one thing that guides me, is, being this searcher for meaning or philosopher. Another one would be a researcher. I spend an awful lot of my time, probably every day there would be at least an hour or two, on the internet, reading books, at the library, talking to people, dialoguing with, random strangers on the street, on the bus, in the car park, wherever, trying to learn people's drops of wisdom. I want to know what makes people tick. And so I love researching, and then I love taking those bits of research and actually sharing those, with people. I'm definitely one of those people who, I find an awesome recipe and I'm telling everybody. It doesn't matter whether you want to know about it or not. I'm going to tell you. If I find a great salad dressing, Coles here in Australia has got an amazing raspberry balsamic vinegar, and I tell everybody about that particular dressing because it is so good. I hope you have something like that in your country wherever you live, because oh my God, it is amazing. Grab hold of that. Documentaries I saw recently, I'm really late to the party, but my partner, he said to me we needed to watch my octopus teacher, whatever it's called. What an amazing documentary. Oh my God, it gives me the shivers even thinking about it. If you have not seen that, oh my God, look, I'm getting the shivers. You can see my hair stand up all the time because there are so many things, and this is, it makes me passionate. I love this work. Oh my God, this is so amazing. That movie, that documentary, you need to get a hold of it. Sorry. It is so beautiful. It's not a story. I never thought I was going to watch a documentary about an octopus, but it is a love story between that man and that animal. And oh my God, you've got to watch it. That is just so amazing. So yes, this is, what I do. I share things, and I share things with enthusiasm and passion. Just as an aside, enthusiasm is probably the biggest thing I have. Some people find it too much, and if that's you, that's okay. If you're not one of my people, if you're not one of my tribe, that's okay. There's plenty of other podcasts and there's plenty of other YouTube channels that you can watch and you can visit. But if you love my enthusiasm, if you find my energy attractive and there's something about what I do and what I bring and what I say, excellent, you're part of my tribe. Welcome into my lounge room. But if not, enjoy, and I hope you find your person. So I sincerely say, I hope you find your person. I met a fellow about a couple of years ago who, said to me, you would be my perfect girl, except you're just too much. And I took offense, and I thought, that's actually that's my biggest probably plus. If you don't like that, and it is too much. It is a lot. I get that, but that is what, drives everything that I do. Very much, hyperactive and ADHD, probably if I was to get a label. But you know what? Luckily, I came through, my schooling life and my early years without that. And now I call it enthusiasm, and enthusiasm means possessed by a God. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. That is my thing. I would say that's it. All right, back to those words. So what I want you to do is to find a piece of paper, grab a Post-it note, whatever it is, a scrap piece of paper you've got. And I want you to think of 7 role titles. So describing words, naming words, nouns that describe who you are and the roles and the majority of the roles that you've played. So for some people, you might say mother is your word. You might not actually physically be a mother, but you mother people. So you might mother your colleagues, or you mother your siblings, or you mother your boyfriend or your husband, or you mother, your craft group, or whoever it might be, and you have that energy about you, that could be one thing. Perhaps you are a librarian. You don't work as a librarian, but you love books and you love words, or you might call yourself a wordsmith because you write about, things. You might never have published a book, but you see yourself as a wordsmith. You might call yourself an artist. You might not actually work as an artist, but perhaps that's a word that really resonates with you, that you're an artist of daily life and that you really, embrace that title. So no one else has to know about these things. This is just between you and I. So I want you to spend just a minute writing those things down. Here we go. Come up with 7 words that describe who you are. Let's go. See if you can do it. I'll try and be a little bit quiet here. If I had some background music, I would play it, but I don't. But come up with those 7 naming words. What would they be? Just one little couple of seconds. Write something down. You can always come back to this if you don't get to finish. Just write them down. What would those words be? I want you to think outside the square. It doesn't have to be your actual role title, your job. It might be something that you aspire to, or something that you secretly think of yourself as being. All right, so I hope you've got some down. What I'm going to do, and again, you can come back to that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share mine with you. On my favorite sticky notes. I love my sticky notes. I will say that to you again and again. Everything in my world, if it's on a sticky note, it's what I call Post-it official. Post-it note official, and my poor boyfriend, he gets things. If he doesn't remember things, I put it on the paper, and I'll say, we're going to, Disneyland, and I put it on the piece of paper, and as soon as it becomes written on the Post-it note, it is Post-it note official, and it is happening. If I say we're going to dinner, it's on here. If I say, we're going to eat some amazing lollies and we need to buy them, it's going to be on here. If we're going to, whatever it might be, we're going to go for a bike ride, Post-it note official, it's happening. So, grab your Post-it notes. All right, so here, mine, I'm going to share with mine. Philosopher would be the first one. One of the mantras, so I worked as and you're going to hear quite a bit about this. I worked as an early childhood teacher in a Steiner or Waldorf school for about 10 years. And so when I first started that, I was about 24. And we had a mantra in the kindergarten of being that, we would seek truth, beauty, and goodness. And what a gift, I really think as a 24-year-old person who was already a parent, I'd had my first daughter when I was 21. So I was a very young parent, had no idea what I was doing. But, this suddenly getting this frame, I'd always been, very much interested in beauty. I went to Japan for the first time when I was 15 with a school trip, and it blew my mind, the attention to detail and the beauty in that country. So I was already looking through that lens, but then to come and to have this as a mantra for your work, it was so different to the mainstream education that I'd worked in. It blew my mind. So anyway, looking through that lens, so I've got philosopher. So also many years ago, I did a quiz, one of those online, well, it's probably pre-online. It was probably in a book somewhere. I can't remember. And my quiz result was searcher for meaning. And I've always held on to that because very much that has been my journey my entire life. I've had a lot of challenges with anxiety and worry and fear. And always the way that I've got through those things is by searching for meaning, trying to understand where were those thoughts coming from, where was that fear, those panic attacks, where did they arise, and what actually, caused those things. So that meaning, trying to understand and then trying to, manage it, that's been a big thing. I said researcher before. One of the things that I have, and I'm going to talk to you about this as well, is I work a couple of days a week for a business, but I also a company, but I am pretty much self-employed. I actually have had about 7 years ago or 8 years ago, no more, 8 years ago, I started a family travel website. And when I did, and it still runs to this day, when I started that, it blew my mind as to the infinite possibilities that are out there. I was already a researcher, but that, just, oh my God, it put the walls out, it blew the walls out. It was like an explosion in my mind, what I discovered through that journey. And I'm going to share that with you because that's in the next podcast. I'm going to actually take you through what happened and how it happened. And hopefully this is going to inspire you too. The next thing I would say, my third word would be storyteller. Now you're going to see as you're with me that I do not tell a story from A to B. I get to B. I start at A, but to get to B, I go via C, D, E, F, G, H, I, all the way to Z, probably come back via P, but via Q, via, F, Z, whatever. And then I come back to B. Now I always get to my point, but it takes me a long time. So if you don't like that kind of storytelling, oh well, that's how this world, that's how I work in this world. And hopefully those stories are going to be, entertaining and informative and useful, and maybe they'll make some impact as well, like people have made impact on me with their stories. So that's one. Traveler is another one. Again, the infinite possibilities. Travel brings that to me. I love traveling. I also love equally being at home, especially as I get older. But I love to go. I go out and immerse. I soak up life, and then I come back. I can have, 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks, and then I have to come home and recalibrate for the next, 3 months, 6 months before I can do it again. So that's coming back and writing and using all of that information and inspiration to then do something with it in my life. I don't just go and travel for the sake of it. I'm not a girl who'll sit around a pool for very long. I want to get out there. I want to learn. I want to visit museums and art galleries and markets and eat what they eat, what the locals eat, and all of that. I want to be a traveler, not a tourist. And that is part of this idea of, there's infinite possibilities, and I want to soak up life as much as I can. And I'm going to talk about that as we go through. Another one would be that I am a celebrator. I love celebrating. I love rituals. I love, really thinking about the ways that I'm going to pause and celebrate in my life. And you're going to learn some of the things that I do, some of the practices that I do and have been doing, for 25, 30 years. Some are more recent. There's lots of things. I want to share some of those things with you. So I love, anywhere where I can go, where it's an immersive experience, where I can actually, have other people do the things for me that I would do for my friends. So for example, I might, I did host many years ago, or a couple of years ago, a Swedish Christmas, and had all my friends come and created this event for them, from nothing. I just created it because I wanted to share that with my friends. But I also equally love to experience those things, to go and actually get out there. It's why I am a massive, massive Disney parks fan. I love Disney. You'll see that I have a Mickey Mouse on my arm here. You can probably see there if you're watching YouTube. And there's a reason for that. And it's really all about the customer service, but it's also because Disney, and if you haven't been to Disney, let me teach you how to become a Disney Parks fan. I will, through this podcast, because that place absolutely blows my mind. The pixie dust that they deliver for their customers and their clients blows my mind, and I can only aspire to do what they do with my courses and my in-person workshops and things like that is what I aspire to deliver at that kind of level. It's amazing. So celebrating, that's a big thing. Disney is they celebrate in amazing ways, and I really want to celebrate in my life, and I want to show you ways to celebrate more. And I don't just mean birthday parties and things. I mean on a daily basis, and on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a yearly basis. I'm going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff, some of which is probably quite new to many of you, but hopefully is going to be like a little seed that we plant, and then hopefully you can grab some of those things and start putting those things and trying them again. Science experiment, trying those in your life. My next one is mother. I'm a mother of 3. My eldest is, almost 30. She's 29 very soon. And then I have a teenager, 15-year-old boy, and also a 10-year-old boy. And, I always say there's no, when people would say to me that they would go and meditate, like Buddha, or they go to Vipassana and they sit in these 10-day, silent meditations. I love those types of things. I am an absolute meditator. I've been meditating since I was in probably the first course I went to, I was about 21. But I think where I sit most in the fire, where I get the practice of meditation, is in my parenting life. It has not been easy. There are constant challenges, just like everybody has, but probably in some ways there's been some really big challenges along the way. I'm a divorcee, so I'm a sole parent, and have been a sole parent for much of my parenting life. So, I started parenting at 21. I'm now 50. It has been a long journey. My youngest is still only 10. So it's nowhere near finished. Things have changed a little bit though, and I'm going to share some of those things with you, because what you will get with me is that I am really authentic. I'm going to tell you and share with you. I'm not hiding behind any facade. I don't think that does anybody any good when we hide things. I'm really open, sometimes to my detriment, but I think that's what people like about me, and why they find, why they gravitate when people come and they say to me things about, what they've got out of courses and workshops, is because I just say it like it is. And sometimes I might push buttons, or sometimes I say things that is not, things that they are not things that are shared, very often in public life, or in, spaces. Sometimes they're not even shared behind closed doors. And I think there's a lot of things that really we need to, we need to shine a light on it. The Leonard Cohen thing, the crack is where the light gets in. That's what we have to do. We have to open these things up. And you'll find with me throughout this podcast journey that I'm really authentic, and that I really, that vulnerable and being vulnerability and being vulnerable and authentic is my driver. You won't see me with a plastic face of makeup, a full face of makeup. You won't see me with, I'm natural. I'm a natural girl. I love natural medicine. I always have. I worked in a Steiner school because I love nature. I love being in that kind of thing. So it would be very difficult for me, to have blow-dried hair. It just wouldn't happen, because that's not who I am, and I need to be authentic. And I want to allow you. Today I'm wearing a pink jumpsuit. The other clothes that I wear, if I'm not wearing jumpsuits, because I wear jumpsuits most days, some kind of jumpsuit. If I'm not wearing a jumpsuit, I'm usually wearing, tracksuit pants and a jumper or a sweater. So it's one or the other. And I'm sure as the podcast goes on, you're going to see me in both, because that is life. And I want this to be a real authentic experience between you and I. So mother, and I would say the last one would be teacher and helper. I actually really struggled with the word teacher for a very, very long time. I was a teacher. I never felt that was really what my calling was. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I actually started doing this work that I do for an employment services company. And I realized in that space that it took me to that age to realize I'm actually more of a helper. I love helping and serving people. I'm always, even in the kindergarten, I love pastoral care. I love caring for people, caring for things, looking after spaces, all that kind of stuff, bringing beauty, paying attention to the details and noticing the details. That's my thing. I love that. I'm not interested in teaching the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. What I want to do is teach life and learn life, go on a journey with you. This is a journey, the two of us. When I speak to you when we're on a podcast, I learn from my words and the things that I show you. When I speak, sometimes I go, wow, that was really, I needed to hear that today. And it really is every time. Sometimes I get a bit teary because, sometimes I'm my biggest teacher, as we all are, and sometimes the things that I say and I remember the stories, they remind me of those things that I need to learn as well. So yeah, that would be, if I can be a guide, if I can be a lighthouse. I've had a number of challenges and you're going to hear about them throughout life, especially over the next 2 podcasts. And some of those things, if I can be, just one step ahead of you, and if I can be that lighthouse and I can turn that light and shine it on the pathway so that you don't have to go through some of the challenging moments. If I can save you from going into you might go into a dip, of course, but if I can save you from getting too stuck in that dip and I can and I can pull you out, if I can put a hand down and actually, pass my hand to you and give you a hand out, well, that's what I hope to do, through this. That's my goal and the reason that I'm sharing. I will share one of the words. It gives me the shivers now. One of my clients in a previous, probably about 6-8 months ago, she said to me, Amber, you're like a cosmic fairy godmother. And I have never been more humbled, but also like, wow, that's the best compliment anyone has ever given me. And if I can resonate and if I can live in that kind of energy for even one moment in a podcast or on my social media, then, oh my God, my job is done. I have just gone exactly where I need to go. So, this is the energy that I'm going to hopefully bring to you. I am very much into, magic and possibilities and tapping the flow signal. I'm going to talk about all of this stuff. There is no way I can talk to you about careers. I can't talk to you about finding a job you love. I can't talk to you about taking control of your life or mastering any part of your life or doing anything without talking about, being in the flow. That is absolutely what drives me on a daily basis. And it's not possible for me to share any of this stuff or teach you anything without tapping into that too. So I need to speak about that. And, if that's something that if you don't believe in, or if that doesn't resonate with you, I ask you to just come to me with an open heart, an open mind, and just see. Because something I say might just drop something into you. And perhaps when I start to share some of the stories of things that have happened to me and why they happened to me, then you might be inspired too. And, let's go. I love this stuff. So I just can't wait to share some of this with you. And you'll hear about, stories on a daily basis. If anything, if I had to encompass everything, I think what I've realized over time, part of what I do in my work is to help people discover their calling. Now, it's a slightly different way of looking at it than maybe the mainstream look at it. And I do have a book that I'm writing at the moment. It's part of a series of books that will be out, later this year and then into next year. And one of the biggest ones is looking at that part. It's the final step, if you like, in a 5-step process. It's the final step of taking hold and taking charge of your life. We are all here trying to discover what it is we are meant to do, and discovering your calling and your purpose and your meaning in life is, a huge journey. But some of us don't get there ever, and that's okay. Some of us kind of stop before we get to that point. But if I can help you open the doors, if I can take you on a treasure hunt to do that, to discover that, and maybe understand what that is and how that's then going to influence your life and the way you live your life, well, that is my ultimate goal. And that's going to be something that we talk about over time. And that is actually the kind of the finale in my course that I run. I have a course that's beginning in 2024 that's called This One Extraordinary Life. And this is a 12-week series that we go through. And the last few weeks of that is really digging into that. So we're going to talk about that through the podcast. You don't have to be in the course. Being in the course, the only difference of being in the course is if you're in the course, you're getting me live and you can ask me questions and you can have all of that interaction. But I'm going to share this on the podcast. One thing that you'll get with me is I'm very generous. I was talking about it before. I love sharing things. I love giving all of my recommendations. And it is a huge thing. I think I was taught about generosity many, many years ago when I was working in a Steiner kindergarten, and that we used to make bread. Every week we used to make, or a couple of times a week, we used to make bread from scratch. So we would, take the flour and the water and the yeast, and we would make these beautiful bread dough, and the children would make a bread roll. And every day they would make, on these couple of days a week, we would put them in the oven, and, just before home time, they would have a crunchy bread roll that they would eat. Now, it was my job. I was the kindergarten assistant at that time. It was my job to, cut these beautiful warm bread rolls just out of the oven and put butter and jam on them. And at one of the time, very early in the journey of being in that role or being in that job, the school went through a bit of a tough time, and there wasn't a lot of money for, petty cash. And there wasn't a lot of money that we could spend on things like, the food. They were kind of extras. They weren't like, the curriculum. But in our place, they were really important. And I remember this one day I had, a thing of butter, real butter, and I was putting the tub of butter, I was putting butter on all of the bread rolls, and I was passing them out to the children. And I had this jar of jam, handmade beautiful jam. And there was one jar of jam, and there was just, very little jam in the bottom of the jar. And I was trying to spread it and share it out so that everybody would get kind of a smidgen of jam on their, on their bread roll. And I remember, as I was doing that, the kindergarten teacher at the time, Katrina, she turned to me and she said to me, Amber, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm trying to, eke it out so everybody, can have some jam. And she said to me, Amber, there's always more jam. There's always more jam. And again, it just gives me the shivers. It was such a pivotal moment in my life. There's always more jam. There's always more money. There's always more love. Here we go. These are my, you'll see my goosebumps. Oh, look, goosebumps. There is always more. It is like a currency. Where there's currency, there's Wi-Fi all around us. We can't see it. Money, abundance, jam. It's all there. There is always more. Water, whatever, food. There is always more. One apple tree. One apple, when we open it up, is filled with apple seeds that then if we plant them, make 1 million more. Cherries are the same. It makes 1 million more cherries, 1 million more apples. It's just abundance is everywhere. And I think we forget that. But no, generosity. If you give, you actually get the benefit of that. And I'm going to talk about, that a lot within this podcast. If you're generous, if you give, if you serve, there is huge, kickbacks for you. Be generous, because if you're a tight ass, oh God, drives me mental. Those kinds of people who just, everything is kind of holding on. That's not the way to be living a generous life. You want to give, and you want to give without expectation. You want to give without any ties. You don't want to have anything. You don't give to get back. You just give. And when you give, your life becomes amazing. Let me tell you, amazing. So just give. So talking about, giving and all of this, I think I don't think I mentioned it, but my word, when I think about this and generosity and my word and whatever, my word would be alchemist. That is, when I think about my calling, my word is to be an alchemist. And I love magic. I love the idea of making magic spells. I love potions and all of that kind of stuff. Probably why I was a kindergarten teacher. But an alchemist basically is somebody, yes, it's all about the philosopher's stone and all of that, but really it's about transforming things for the better. So that's what I try and do every single day in my life, whether it's go out there and smile at somebody, whether it's have a conversation with somebody as I'm standing at the traffic lights crossing the road. If I walk into somewhere, I'm trying to bring a little spark of joy, or I'm trying to be sunshine. I don't always feel like it, but I walk out of the house and I really strive because I want to give back to the world. There's so much negativity in the world, and I think some of us really need, I can't necessarily, I can sit there and feel, sometimes I feel a bit helpless because there's not a lot I can do with a lot of the challenges in the world. But what I can do on a daily basis is I can bring a smile to someone's face. I can be silly and I can make someone laugh. I can, give somebody a cup of tea without them asking, a really beautiful cup of tea. Or I can present, a lovely treat on a plate for somebody. I can give, and that then is transforming someone's life for the better, for whatever reason. You just never know what your little gesture of kindness is going to do for people. So, that's beginning day one of podcast. I hope that my energy and what I'm going to share over this time, I've committed to 100 podcasts. I'm hoping it will go way more if it's great and I get some good feedback and, it's useful for people. Who knows where it will go, but I've committed to 100 podcasts. That is what I'm going to do. I will not stop until I get to 100 podcasts, and then I will, reflect and learn the lessons and see, if I've improved, if I've got better, whatever it might be. Have I evolved? Have I changed? Have I become a better person? That's my goal. I don't want to fight anyone. I couldn't care less about competition. I'm not that way inclined. But what I do want to know is, did I do it better today? Where did I fall over? Where did I make mistakes? And how can I improve so that tomorrow I'm going to strive? I'm not going to get it right. There's no way. I've got 24 hours. Of course, I'm going to make mistakes all day long. But if I can change one little thing and I can, make it just that little bit better, then that's my job done. That's a life worth living. That's this one extraordinary life done well. So just before we go today, if you want to follow along, what I am about is you taking action. You're writing things down with me. You're going to come on this journey. Grab yourself a journal and paper. Always have paper. If you're listening to me, if you're driving along, it's great to listen in the car, but, always keep something so that you can write things down, or you can at least remember. Here's a great tip. If there's something if I'm out and about and I hear something that's really great, I just remember the keyword, and then I literally, I try and I touch it. So I will attach it to my thumb or my finger, and I'll try and remember 5 things. So if I'm, listening and if I'm driving and I can't actually write anything down, and I hear something, I might, hear the word apple tree, and I think, oh, apple tree. And then I think to myself a couple of times, apple tree, apple tree, apple tree. And I'll actually, try and, touch my thumb like this, and I'll say apple tree, apple tree, apple tree. And then the next one might come in, and it might be, generous jam, apple tree jam. So I might go apple tree jam, or I might do this apple tree jam. And what I try and do is to lock a couple of things onto my fingers. It's a really great technique of being able to remember, 5 things. And then when I stop the car, I grab my Post-it note and my pencil, and I write down, apple tree jam, whatever those 5 keywords are, because the keywords remind me of the story, and then I can actually expand upon that. All I'm trying to do is remember the keywords. I'm going to remember the story. They are the touch points that are going to allow me to reflect and then maybe have a conversation. If you take anything that I say or any story that I learn and something touches you or inspires you and you want to, remember it, share it with somebody. When you teach that concept to somebody else, then it locks into your long-term memory. I'm going to talk a lot about brain science, neuroplasticity, and how your brain works, because that is, again, part of the journey that I've been on, and you're going to learn all about it. But, these are the things. I know lots of strategies. I've had to implement lots of strategies into my life, both in my teaching, in my work, but also in my private life and my personal life. So I'm going to share with you the things that I've tried, the things that I do, the things that I hold on as a daily practice as well. Now, the other thing I want you to do, if you go to my website, Amber Greene, so it's AMBERGREENE, I can't even spell, Amber, AMBERGREENE.com. So it's green, like the color, amber, the color, green, the color, but green with an E on the end. That is my, the bane of my existence. I can never say Amber Greene and get somebody to write it. I always have to say green with an E on the end. So, you're going to remember that as time goes on. But if you go to my website, you will see a place to sign up for my email list. I would recommend, if there's one thing that you can do, get on my email list. Don't lose me. Let's stay connected. But if you get on my email list, what you're going to find is that every day I'm all about, we live busy lives, don't we? We all have a million. I think I've got almost 10,000, 9,800 and something emails in my inbox, most of which is, subscriptions to things I don't even remember signing up to. I can't even look at it half the time. I've got 3 emails as well, 2 business and a private one. And it's just overwhelming. So I don't want to overwhelm your inboxes. But what I want to do is to give you every day, Monday to Friday, it's called One Little Thing. That's all. It's one Post-it note, one message on a Post-it note that your going to do to take action? Now, I talk about there's 10 core elements of life, and these one little actions that you're going to do, just one action a day, is going to start to change your life, so it becomes, you start to step into this one extraordinary life by one little action a day. So it might be something for your body. It might be an action to do for your body. It might be some fitness thing that you could potentially try. You don't have to, but it's an inspiration. If you want to, you can take it. It's a little nudge. I call it my daily nudge. So if you want to try the daily nudge, and some days you will and some days you won't. But, imagine if you did this and you took my daily nudge, and they're really simple things that can take a minute, 5 minutes, nothing much. But, if you took these ideas, what your life would be like in 365 days time, I guarantee it will look very different than today, because I can look back on my life even 3-4 years ago. My life is in a completely different, I can't even tell you, 360-degree flip to where it was, or 180-degree flip to where it was, 2, 3, 4 years ago. I live in a different place. My body is completely different. My hair is completely different. My physical fitness is completely different. My health and well-being in general is completely different. My job is completely different. The work I do is completely different. The places I've been, my daily practices, everything. There's been such a huge thing over the last 5 years, really, since, and I'm going to talk about there's two key moments: 10 years ago when I divorced, and about five to 6 years ago when I had another moment. I'm going to talk about those in the next 2 podcasts. But if you get on my list, it is an email Monday to Friday with one little action to do. And then on the Saturday, we're going to have a cozy chit chat. And so that's where I just come in and either via video or just, a little kind of love letter, a little note, a memo, a little magical memo. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I've been up to that week. So it's really my place to kind of touch base with you, share what I'm doing in the world, when there's new courses coming, if there's a book release, any of those kind of, nitty-gritty kind of stuff about general life, and just what I've been doing, if I've gone traveling, if I've met a certain person, if I've had a coincidence or a synchronistic kind of moment, some kind of synchronicity come into my life. That's my opportunity to have a dialogue with you, and you can respond to me with that. If I email you, you can absolutely respond and I will get back to you. So this is a dialogue. I really want to have that we're having conversation and that we're talking to one another. You're in my living room. I want you in my living room. And, just like we're friends and we're having, cups of tea together. That's the kind of vibe I want to create with this podcast, but just also with every social media. So you can see I've got Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. There's different things on every one depending on where you go. TikTok is very much resumes, interviews. Instagram is a bit more coincidence, synchronicities, flow. Planning, rhythm, all of those kinds of things. So it depends on what you're after. You can touch base and hear different things depending on what platform that you go and you listen and follow. But the podcast is the main place that I'm going to talk, and this is where I talk for quite a bit of time as well, so as you can see. So let's stop there and let's get ready for the next one. Thanks for coming along. I'm going to see you again soon.